Hey, welcome back. I'm Ferrikster, here to bring you some Pokemon Go GBL predictions and, my expectations for the meta and stuff, because there's not actually any battles out yet, and you can't do practice battles until after the update. So, I'll be releasing those in a separate video a few hours after the update is live. For now, I'm just going to really quickly run through what's going on at the start of this season. I'm not going to read all of these things, but I will summarize the update. And then I'm going to get into the move rebalances and the updates and my expectations for how that's going to affect the individual Pokemon who are getting it and affect the meta in general. So, yeah, Season 10 start date, rank resets, and end of season rewards. Yeah, the new season starts on Monday. That's going to be about, 14 or 15 hours after this video goes live. So the end of season rewards will be available on your battle screen. Your rank will be reset, no kidding. Rank up requirements will remain the same as in Season 9. And the Pokemon appearing in the GBL encounters will now be slightly easier to catch. I'm actually excited about that because I complain about it all the damn time, especially live on stream where I have to catch the thing before I can move on to my next set. This is actually exactly what I had asked for. There were other creators saying that they should just make it an instant guaranteed catch, and I feel like that kind of diminishes the feeling and the idea of trade-offs. Making it slightly easier to catch, you still have the option of pineapping it and making your life difficult, but, eking out more candy from your encounter, and I also really didn't want to bank it, as some other creators have suggested, because then, when you're done with your sets, what are you going to do? Catch 5 Cresselia back to back? I forgot to rhyme on a timer. So, yeah. Season 10 schedule. Following leagues will begin and end at 1 p.m. It's the same time that the leagues always do. And here's the schedule for it. At the beginning of the league, we're getting Great League and Great League Remix. Not just one of the standard leagues. We're going to be getting Great League Remix. We've had Great League Remix before, and I looked over the bans, and it looks like, I think it's exactly the same as the past Great League Remix. So I'll be experimenting with that in the first couple of days, and I'll release a video on that when that comes out. Ultra League Remix, and Holiday Cup beginning December 13th. Holiday Cup starts December 16th. Not sure why they organized the schedule in this way rather than on a calendar. Then December, Master League, Master League Classic, and Holiday Cup, which I'm kind of excited for because I don't actually remember what I used to use for Holiday Cup, and I was not making content a full year ago. Started my channel in January, so I can't even look back at my past videos and pretend that I remember what my team was, because I honestly don't. And I'll have to, that cup will be totally new to me. I'm always a big fan of new cups. January 10th, we get Great League and Sinnoh Cup, which is a brand new meta, and I'm excited for that. And we're going to have Ultra League, Ultra Premier Classic, and Master League ML's Classic, and Love Cup in February. Love Cup is a recycled cup. I took a look at the choices of Pokemon for that, and that looks pretty much the same also. So excited to get to do that again, especially since we'll have an updated Magcargo, and that was one of the only places where you actually saw Magcargo used so far, outside of Sylph and other limited formats. And then we have all 3 open leagues along with Johto Cup at the end of the season, which is cool also because Johto Cup will be another brand new cup, so I'm excited about that. Notably, there is no Little Cup or Little Cup adjacent things this season. I'm confident that they'll bring Little Cup back, so don't start throwing all of your Little League Pokemon in the trash just yet. But, while I'm sure some people will celebrate that change, I'm a little sad that we're not going to get any Little Cup, because what am I doing with these 500 Pokemon that I have stored? Now they're just warming the bench for a whole season. All right. Season 10 is going to have 3 Go Battle Days, same as we had this previous season. There's 4x Stardust from win rewards, but it doesn't include the end of set rewards. So, what's the point? End of set rewards were the things that actually delivered a lot of dust. Getting 2 wins on the free track gave you, 1,000? So with 4x, it becomes, 4,000, but it's not as much as moving, the 4,000 dust you would get at the end of set up to, 16. Most of the dust was gotten from that This is how they did it this past season. I was kind of hoping they would revert it to the way they did in Season 8, where they, gave you 4x dust, even for your end of set rewards, which honestly really, really had a huge impact on the dust that you got. But this is fine. At least they're being upfront about it. Let's see. This is just the dates and times of it. January 8th, January 23rd, and February 6th. Those are our Go Battle days. The one in the middle contains Sinnoh Cup, so that's probably where that'll be focused. Master League for the first one on the 8th, and it's all Ultra and Ultra Premier Classic for the 6th. Season 10 rewards. The guaranteed rank-up encounters are Pyroar, which is garbage, Mindfu, which is garbage, Noibat, which is rare, but still trash, Dino, which you can trade at least to get a good Dino for Little Cup, which we won't have this season, or a good Zweilous for Great League, although that's very much not meta. Definitely has use in some of the limited formats. And Pikachu Libre, which is, still a trophy Pokemon, but if you can get the Hundo, you can make it XL for Great League, and it'll be not amazing there, but it'll be fun. And maybe we'll see some use in a Little Cup format, but there's none of those right now. So, standard encounters, Bayleaf, Quilava, Croconaw, Spinarak, none of those have any use with raid IVs or as a Hundo. Chinchou, if you can get a Hundo, you could maybe build yourself an XL Lantern for Ultra League, but it won't be great there. It'll just be funny. Azumarill, Mindfu, Noctile. If you can get a Hundo Noctile, you could maybe make that for Ultra League. It is getting Shadow Ball, but it still is only going to peak at I think 2200 and change, so it's not going to be really big enough. Fortress, Shieldon, Skuntank, Frillish, Larvitar, Scraggy. Most of those are just useful for XL candy, specifically for Ultra League. Rufflet, which is still bad. 5-star Raid Boss, which is always what we want, and Noibat and Dino. I hope that the 5-star Raid Boss encounter rates are the same, because that'll mean I can continue to not really raid, which is what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks. I don't even use my free pass most days anymore. And I'm fine with that. That can continue. Big fan of that change. Pikachu Libre avatar items will be rewarded to trainers who reach rank 3. Most of you probably already still have that. And yeah, at rank 3, you don't even have to win any battles to get that. So yeah, if you just don't have that and want only that and don't care about anything else, I'm not sure why you're on my channel in the first place. But yeah, just go in with a Magikarp, a Pikachu, and a Squirtle and lose all your games, and you'll get rewarded with that face mask anyway. But this season we are getting Lysander. I assume that's how you pronounce his name. I don't know. I didn't really watch the series after Brock left, which would have been season whatever. I don't even know, but very early on. So I never met most of these characters. But I'm going to assume his name is pronounced Lysander. And we are getting gloves at ace rank, shoes at veteran rank, pants at expert rank, and the jacket and pose at legend rank. But looking at these, we've got pants that are very similar to that already. The gloves are pretty much the fingerless gloves that we already get, but in multiple colors. And the shoes are, they might be very distinctive, but from this picture, it doesn't appear that way. So really, the jacket and the pose are the only things that will really mean anything, and you get both of those at legend rank. So this seems fine to me. Yeah, kind of got to push to legend to get the useful items out of this particular costume, I guess. And at rank 19, you'll get an Elite Charge TM, which is the same thing that we got this previous season, and an Elite Fast TM at the end of the season. So that's the same. If you're hoarding Elite TMs the way I am, by the way, I think it's probably time to start spending them. They're not doing us any good when they're just sitting in our storage. If anything, they're just taking up another slot. I definitely would always be sure to save at least 2 of each, but beyond that, I think you should feel free to spend a little more liberally. All right, Great League Remix. Yeah. This looks like exactly what was banned last time, so I'm expecting that to be the same. If there are any changes there, I can't tell just off the top of my head. I think this is actually identical, except I guess Nidoqueen is here. Nidoqueen wouldn't have been here before. I don't know what Nidoqueen pushed out of making this list, but everything else here, I'm pretty sure was banned last time. But again, I'll cover that meta more in depth in a future video. Same thing with Ultra League. I think this is also the same thing. Like, I don't even see XL Nidoqueen here. So I don't know how that didn't make the list, but this is from Open Ultra League, which I don't really play usually. So it's possible that I just don't know. Holiday Cup, normal, grass, electric, ice, flying, and ghost types are permitted. That's a lot of stuff, so it's still a pretty open meta, and I will look at that when it's time. Sinnoh Cup and Love... Sinnoh Cup is exactly what you'd expect. Love Cup is the same as it was last time, and Johto Cup is exactly what you'd expect. So, getting into these attack changes, which is really kind of the meat of this video in the first place. Rock Tomb will now have the additional effect in trainer battles of guaranteeing to lower the opposing Pokemon's attack. So, I assume from the writing of this that it is by one stage, same as Icy Wind. So, since that's the only thing that's being changed about Rock Tomb, it's worth thinking really briefly about what Rock Tomb actually is. So, Rock Tomb, if you're not familiar, because most of the time you don't see it come up, the reason for that is because Rock Tomb is bad. The two rock type moves that you see most often are Rock Slide and, to a lesser extent, Stone Edge. Rock Slide is 45 energy for 75 base damage. 45 energy for 75 base damage. And Stone Edge, the more expensive move, is 55 energy for 90 base damage. Rock Tomb is more expensive than either of them at 60 energy, and its base damage is 70. So it costs more than Stone Edge and does less damage than Rock Slide, and that's why you never see it. So giving it the ability to reduce an opposing Pokemon's attack doesn't change the fact that it is really prohibitively expensive and does not do that much damage. Like, Rock Tomb has been moved from being really bad to being pretty bad, but the idea of it lowering the opposing Pokemon's attack, I think, is going to cause some people, especially at lower leagues, to try using it. The problem is that most of the Pokemon that learn Rock Tomb existing, or that are getting Rock Tomb, and a lot of them aren't really bulky enough or have enough general utility as it is to be able to sacrifice one of their existing moves for Rock Tomb. Most of them will already have a better choice of move in Rock Slide or in Stone Edge. Rock Slide is just so much cheaper at 45 energy versus Rock Tomb 60, and doing more damage at 75 versus Rock Tomb 70. Lowering the opposing Pokemon's attack, unless it's by 2 stages, you're not really going to have enough time for that to add up enough to matter. Like, Rock Tomb is not a suitable move to switch out any of your existing Rock-type moves for. And I'm going to get into the individual Pokemon who have it. But lowering the opposing Pokemon's attack, if you're going to do it, it needs to be cheaper. They would have had to reduce Rock Tomb's damage and energy for it to really be good as a debuff move. Because if you're going to debuff something's attack, you need to have not taken all of that damage in the first time. In order to make Rock Tomb work, a lot of people at the lower leagues are probably going to end up shielding often and early on the Pokemon who have Rock Tomb, and it's not really going to pay off because a single stage attack debuff, you're going to have taken way too much damage ahead of time, and it's not going to have done enough damage on its own. Pound is having its damage reduced from 5 to 4. This is clearly a targeted nerf at Chansey, which isn't the strongest, most meta thing as is. I, for one, didn't even finish building my XL Chansey for Great League. Chansey was pretty strong in Little Cup, although nerfing Pound's damage from 5 to 4 doesn't actually change most matchups at all. Because if you reduce Pound's base damage from 5 to 4, it, like, if you look at it in Great League, right? Look at Chansey versus, like, Stunfisk, or Chansey versus Azumarill. Versus Azumarill, Pound does 2 HP of damage per pound. And if you reduce Chansey's attack enough to like, You can reduce Chansey from level 51 to level 35. And it's still, Pound is still only doing 2 HP of damage. It's not enough to reduce it to 1. And a lot of Chansey's matchups are going to end up being like that. Chansey just has such low attack already, and it does so little attack that the amount of HP of damage that it's doing is going to be like 2 or 1, and reducing Pound's base damage from 5 to 4 just doesn't change that many matchups. There's a lot of matchups against a lot of meta Pokemon where Pound is doing 2 HP of damage pre-nerf, and it's going to continue to do 2 HP of damage post-nerf. But they're trying. Targeted Chansey nerf, I think that's fine. There's going to be a couple of matchups where it'll be flipped, and maybe it'll be enough to make Chansey less usable. And, anything that nerfs a specifically XL Pokemon, I'm usually a fan of, because I'm not the best at acquiring XL candy in the first place. All right, next up, Bugbuzz. So I have said in past seasons that I think bug typing should probably be buffed. And they buffed it last season by moving Megahorn from 100 base damage to 110, and this is actually very similar as a buff, moving Bugbuzz from 90 to 100. Bugbuzz already has a chance to debuff the opponent's defense. Yeah, defense. And, giving it a little bit more base damage just makes it very slightly more consistent at doing damage. The issue with Bugbuzz is mostly that bug-type damage is resisted by a lot of things. Like Fairy, Fighting, Steel. There's not too many targets in the meta for bug-type damage already, but Bugbuzz is an expensive move. Moving its base damage up a little bit is nice, but Wormadam, Vespiquen, I've used both of those Pokemon periodically in various formats. Yanmega, not really so much. But, this is kind of a vanity increase. It's not going to make a huge difference. It's definitely not going to shift around the meta very much because none of those Pokemon are going to make waves. All right, attack availability. So Dawnfan is being given the charged attack Body Slam. And that's fine. Dawnfan is not good right now. Adding Body Slam to it makes it better, but it's still not going to be meta. Dawnfan's typical set is Counter with Play Rough and Earth Power. Or is it Play Rough and Earthquake? One of those. One of those ground type moves. And in that sense, if you're using it in Great League, it's basically with Body Slam, you would definitely keep a ground type move. I think it's actually Earthquake. Would keep a ground type charge move and get rid of Play Rough. So with Counter, Body Slam, and Earthquake, Dawnfan is basically going to be a bad Vigoroth, a terrible Vigoroth. And also, Dawnfan's typing just isn't as good as Vigoroth's in the first place. If you think about how you end up using Vigoroth and how you would end up using Dawnfan, you're probably going to be doing the bulk of your damage with Body Slam. That's going to be the move that you're going to use more often because it's way, way cheaper, in Dawnfan's case, than Earthquake, which is a fine move on its own, just very expensive for a Pokemon like Dawnfan that doesn't really have that much bulk. Dawnfan also learns Charm. So having a Charmer with Body Slam is an interesting idea, but the issue is that both Charm and Body Slam are not getting Stab. So, if you're doing most of your damage with Charm, you should really be a Fairy type so that you actually do your damage with Charm. And if you're going to use Body Slam, being a normal type is probably better because then you're actually doing your damage with normal type damage. Giving Dawnfan Body Slam is interesting, and it will make it a little bit more usable, but it's definitely don't see it being meta, especially because ground type has so many weaknesses and not really too many useful resistances in this meta. Noctile is being given the charge attack Shadow Ball. This is honestly a fantastic addition for Noctile. I think this is one of the best updates that they are making with this current season. Shadow Ball, it doesn't it flips a lot of matchups, but the thing that makes me most excited about it actually is just that it makes Noctile a lot harder to wall. I tend to prefer using Pokemon that have more general utility and aren't completely shut down without any good way of covering themselves by other Pokemon. who are very meta. Like, Noctile was completely walled by G-Fisk, and while it certainly still loses that matchup pretty substantially, being able to at least get a neutral hit in with Shadow Ball means that you can have some ability to farm energy on a swap and come in Shadow Ball, and then, maybe get to farm energy on the next swap if you end up losing that. So having that coverage is really nice. Also, Noctile being normal and flying kind of competes with Pidgeot. And Pidgeot, if you look at a lot of the simulators for it in the One Shield, it has a lot of wins until you take away baiting, and then Pidgeot becomes terrible. Like, Pidgeot, if you can bait and get the shield, is fine. But a lot of times people end up not shielding. Excuse me. Will end up not shielding. In that case, Pidgeot ends up going down shields. So it's a very inconsistent bait-dependent Pokemon, and I'm not like the biggest fan of it. Noctile with Shadow Ball, I feel, is just going to be like a better, more consistent Pidgeot that doesn't completely rely on baiting and debuffing. So, huge fan of this change to Noctile, and I expect to actually see a decent chunk of it. Not even for the first couple of days, but going forward for Great League. Like, Noctile is going to be, honestly, pretty great. And it's going to be a great foil to Trevenant, because it walls Trevenant as much as Pidgeot or Unpheasant did, just that Noctile has a much better move pool than, like, Unpheasant does. Yeah. Ultra League, not quite really big enough for there, because again, it peaks at like 2200 and change, and it's just not quite enough. Next up, Magcargo. A lot of people are pretty excited about this. I'm not really convinced that this change is going to be amazing. So, Magcargo is being given the ability to learn the fast attack Incinerate, and Incinerate is fantastic, but the thing about Magcargo is that it doesn't really have any amazing charge moves. Like, its charge moves, currently, you end up using Stone Edge and Overheat. And Overheat, debuffs your attack by 2 stages. So it's very difficult to use Magcargo. And Magcargo, just thinking about its typing, Fire and Rock, it's double weak to Water. It's weak to Fighting. It doesn't even resist Grass, despite being Fire. It takes neutral damage. Magcargo just gets hit very hard by a lot of very meta things, like Stunfisk still is doing double super effective damage with Mud Shots, and it actually adds up, and you are weak against Rock because Rock doesn't resist Rock, and Fire is weak to it. So Magcargo has a lot of weaknesses to very meta typings, and Incinerate, while it does very good damage on its own, Magcargo doesn't have a ton of attack, so it doesn't do a lot of damage with its Incinerates. And you can't really, you can't even build up to back-to-back moves because Overheat is so damn expensive, and Stone Edge is 55 energy. So it's hard to use Magcargo as is. I've never really seen it used except in limited formats, like in Love Cup and in Sylph. So yeah, Magcargo often ends up being used with Rock Throw instead of Ember, because Ember is pretty bad. Incinerate is nice because it adds fire. I don't know that you'll want Incinerate Magcargo for Love Cup. I think Rock Throw is probably going to be the way to go there. I feel like Magcargo could have benefited more from being given Smackdown. And they added the Charge Attack Rock Tomb, which is bad. Rock Tomb is not great. You're still going to want to stick with Stone Edge because it's much better. If Magcargo had an absence of a Rock-type move, then this would have been a nice addition. But, yeah, Incinerate, helpful, but it's not going to make Magcargo meta. Although I'm sure we'll see a lot of people who will disagree in the first few days and use it for a while, especially at the lower leagues. All right. Octillery is being given the Fast Attack Lock-On. Octillery's problems, for Great League at least, are numerous. For one, it has very high attack and very low bulk, which makes it difficult to use. Lock-On makes Octillery even more like a water-type Porygon Z, but with different attacks. Like, you are still going to be doing no damage with Lock-On, although Octillery already had Mud Shot, so it already had a very high energy generation move. Lock-on is just even more so. The problem with Octillery is that its charge moves don't really support lock-on that well. Like, it learns a lot of things. Octazooka, Acid Spray, both of those are just debuffing moves that don't really do a lot of damage. So with no ability to hurt things, you can't really run that set. You could run Octillery with Gunk Shot, which would be nice. I mean, you get to the Gunk Shots very fast, and obviously Octillery would be able to gunk down an Azu pretty quickly with its sky-high attack. It's just, if you know, against anything that hits Octillery for neutral, fast move pressure, Octillery crumbles under fast move pressure. And without being able to dish out any fast move pressure, if you just end up, you know, if you shield the Octazooka or then maybe land a Gunk Shot, then maybe Octillery can get something done, but it's a very difficult Pokemon to use. It's not going to be very meta, and adding Lock-On just doesn't change Octillery that much because it already had Mud Shot. So, Sudowoodo will be able to learn the Charge Attack Rock Tomb. Same problem as everything else that gets Rock Tomb. Sudowoodo doubly so because Sudowoodo can already learn Rock Slide and Stone Edge, and you wouldn't want to carry Rock Tomb along with those because then Sudowoodo loses its Earthquake, which is its best, you know, coverage move to cover things that resist rock like Steel. So you really wouldn't want to give up Earthquake, and I think that Sudowoodo is probably best served by continuing to run its most standard set of counter with Rock Slide and Earthquake. Lairon is also being given Rock Tomb. This doesn't help because Lairon learns Stone Edge, which is better, and the issue that Lairon has is not the charge attacks. It's actually just that the only fast moves that it can learn are Iron Tail and Metal Claw. And when it comes to Steel-type fast moves, it's kind of Bullet Punch or Bust. And that's fine that we don't have great Steel attacking moves because Steel is a defensive typing, so I'm okay with that. Aggron also is being given Rock Tomb, but I think you're probably better served by sticking with Stone Edge because it's just cheaper and does damage. And Claydol is being given the Charge Attack Rock Tomb. This, at least, is an addition to a Pokemon that doesn't currently learn any Rock-type moves. So Claydol's normal set is Confusion, or to a less common extent, Mud Slap. Mud Slap maybe in limited formats, but generally in open, you are going to be using it with Confusion. And Claydol already learns a lot of really good charge moves. Earth Power, Earthquake, Shadow Ball, Psychic. I don't see you replacing any of those moves with Rock Tomb, just because, you know, debuffing, while Claydol actually does have the bulk for, you know, attack debuffs to kind of add up to something, losing the coverage that you gain with like Shadow Ball or Psychic or Earth Power just doesn't make a ton of sense to replace it with a very expensive move that is more expensive than any of the moves that I named, that just doesn't do any real damage. I don't see this changing Claydol the way Claydol is played. And since you already don't really see Claydol ever, I don't expect that you'll start to see Claydol after this. So yeah, and that's the whole update. Season 9's update to Poison really shook up the meta a lot. Season 8's updates shook up the meta a lot. I do not see this update as making a huge change. Like, all of these Pokemon that are being given Rock Tomb are better served with other things. Octillery doesn't become good. Magcargo doesn't become good. Noctile, I think we'll start to see. And Dawnfan, maybe some people will play around with, but it's basically a bad Vigoroth. Yeah, and the changes to these moves, I don't think they'll be used very often. Rock Tomb, Pound, and Bugbuzz, we just don't see that very often in the meta. Yeah, this is just... I think this season is still going to be more affected by the more recent addition to Trevenant, and now Noctile being added as a hard counter to that. I think this season is going to look a lot more like last season than last season looked like the season before that. That's all. Yeah, whole video to basically summarize that I don't think the meta is going to change that much this season. I'm excited for the new cups, and I'm going to put out a practice battles video versus Legends as soon as the update has dropped, maybe just 3 to 5 hours after that, I hope. Yeah, and we'll see what people are going to end up using. See if they actually try to make use of the new Pokemon and how it's going to feel to play against some of those. And yeah, that's about that. thank you all for watching. Don't forget to do the things you know you're supposed to do at the ends of videos. You know you're supposed to do those things, so yeah, please do those things. It helps me out a bunch. I'll see you guys on the next one.